Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Monday in the Rev of the beginning of another week during campaign season. So I
Yeah,
don't
and
even know where to begin.
well, I want to start with a tribute, for the lack of a better expression. As many of you may remember, we spoke about the fact that Richard Urban, who we've done a show with on several occasions, the Richard Urban Show, who is a lawyer in Fall River and a big community activist, he actually passed away on August 11th. Um, I'm going to read his obituary, and it's not short, so please bear with me. Richard M. Urban, 81, of Fall River, passed away August 11th, 2023, at his home. Born in Fall River, he was the son of the late Walter and Mary Druniak Urban and had been a lifelong resident of this city. At Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School, Richard Urban studied cabinet making and carpentry for 4 years. Outside of the classroom, he joined the school band and baseball team for 1 year. During Mr. Urban's 4 years at Diamond, he demonstrated above average skills at the sport of soccer. Enrolling in the school as a freshman, he attended soccer tryouts and was immediately selected for the varsity team. In his 4th year on the team, Richard became captain. He graduated earning 3 varsity letters for soccer and 1 school jacket. After his graduation, he played as an amateur on several local soccer teams. From carpentry work experience he was provided by Diamond, Mr. Urban followed his graduation with jobs in the trade. Later on in life, he participated in the Diamond 5-year planning committee and was a judge for a few years on the Diamond Skills USA vocational competition. Mr. Urban was inducted into the Diamond Hall of Fame in 2010. His talent in sports did not end with a high school. Around 1983, Mr. Urban, as captain once again, led the Fall River Tennis Team Association. Boy, this was a man of many talents. To a championship victory. In years to follow, Richard also became captain for numerous teams in the Scholarship City Softball League, where he was awarded the Joseph Martin's Memorial Trophy for sportsmanship. He maintained his first-rate abilities in soccer by playing on amateur teams in Fall River, and while in the military in Asia and Europe, in his home office, there are numerous sports awards on display that Mr. Urban earned. In 1962, he joined the United States Army and obtained a military occupational specialty, an MOS, in microwave electronic communications in the Signal Corps. As part of his assignment in Europe, he was sent to the German language school for eventual duty directly under the company commander. During his 3-year enlistment, Mr. Urban spent a continuous period of 2 years deployed in Asia and Europe. He sailed by troop transport from Europe, Germany, and across the Atlantic Ocean to New York. He was discharged honorably with the Good Conduct Medal at the most impressive rank of SP5 Sergeant for such a limited time of enlistment from 1965 to 1968. He remained part of the Army Reserve on standby call. This total 6-year period of service was during the Vietnam War. He has a daughter and son-in-law also in the military, First Sergeant Vanessa Urban and Master Sergeant Michael Riccitelli, currently on active duty with the Massachusetts Army National Guard. Mr. Urban had participated in Fall River's annual military parades and had marched in the Fall River Celebrates America parade. His travels have taken him to Europe over 10 times, to Asia and Africa, Canada, and many states in America for not only pleasure, but also for study and work. He spent 2 summers, 1978 and 1979, at the Marie Curie Skłodowskie University in Lublin, Poland, completing coursework in cultural and language studies that included numerous field trips to museums and historic sites. After his leave from the military, Richard Urban entered UMass Dartmouth, where he received a Bachelor of Science degree, and then utilized the skills he learned from high school and his pursuits of outside of school to teach at Diamond for 1 year, 1969 to 1970, in the General Shop program, and to become self-employed in real estate and construction from 1972 to present in his company, Urban Realty and Construction. He had real estate licenses in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, along with a construction supervisor's license in Massachusetts. However, Richard's main pursuit involved the Juris Doctorate in law he obtained over 30 years ago at the Southern New England School of Law, where he went part-time for approximately 8 years and graduated close to the top of his class while at the same time supporting and raising a family and working as a contractor. He was a full-time self-employed attorney in Fall River who had spent his free time writing articles for the Herald News, the Fall River Tribune, and other publications, maintaining and coordinating annual honoring and scholarship programs, which he established and organized under the Internal Revenue Code as a 501c3 charitable foundation, and celebrations for the Tadeusz Kazuko Monument here in Fall River. I hate mispronouncing things. Mr. Urban had for many years been an active member of the Fall River Domestic Violence Coalition, the Anti-LNG Coalition, and many other productive and educative activities, to include the We Love Children organization. He was also a member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars organizations, in which he had held the position of adjutant for many years and served on its board of directors and judge advocate at the district level. He was a member of the American Legion Post 314, where he served on the board of directors and as the judge advocate. Also as a past director of the Fall River Preservation Society. Using his courtroom skills and history of World War II knowledge, he wrote, directed, and produced a play titled Slaughter and Cover Up, a mock war trial about the historical Catine Forest murders. The play has been published and copyrighted with the Federal Government Copyright Office in Washington, D.C. The intent of the play has been to educate the public regarding World War II in general and specifically this event. Richard also helped produce, direct, and host a weekly television program that was titled The Veterans Issues, but eventually changed the name to The Richard Urban Show, which aired over 10 years each Thursday on cable television channel 95 at 6:30 p.m. from the Bristol Community College studio and on YouTube. This was not a paid position, just volunteer, where he has numerous community individuals and groups appear. Further, he was the owner-operator of the Catine Film Productions that had filmed many community activities in the greater Fall River area at no charge to anyone. He was the founder and president of the Friends of Cook Pond, a Fall River charitable organization that he formed under Mass General Law Chapter 180 to help restore the use of the pond, and had worked with the trustees of the reservation and Mass in Motions for that purpose. This is getting to be long and winded. My voice is giving out. The Corporal David Miller Monument ceremony is held each Memorial Day that he started several years ago to honor this fallen World War II veteran and all those who served at the time from the south end of Fall River. Richard was also the master of ceremonies of the General Pulaski annual ceremony every October at Pulaski Park in Fall River to honor not only the general, but once again, all who had served our fine country. He had run a number of charitable dances for the Diamond Alumni Association, the Fall River Preservation Society, the South End of Fall River, and the Friends of Cook Pond. He also participated in cleanup events for the city of Fall River. Richard filmed monthly at the South End Neighborhood Association meeting that he had aired on the local cable access channel. He was a member of the Fraternal Order of Eagles and the Chamber of Commerce through the Diamond Bengal Education Foundation, which he was a founding director and subcommittee member of its housing program. Finally, Richard volunteered for about 20 years without any payment, assisting low-income elderly people with their legal estate planning in the South Coastal Counties Legal Services Incorporated. Most recently, he enjoyed woodworking, playing pool, soccer, and tennis, but above all else, he loved taking leisurely trips to Newport, Rhode Island. Family members who loved him very much include his daughter, Vanessa Urban, and her husband, Michael Riccitelli of Upton, Mass., and his grandson, Rhett. He was the brother of the late Phyllis Silva, Ann Khalil, and Frank Urban. Chapel services with military honors will be held Monday, August 28th, that's today, at 1 p.m. at the Massachusetts Veterans Memorial Cemetery, 111 Glen Allen Street, Winchendon, Mass. 01475. It's a rather interesting background. A lot of stuff I didn't even know about Richard. But that shows you that, some good comes out of Fall River every so often.
Well, you can give your voice a break now. Yeah, that was a very long. His daughter, I guess, wanted everybody to know. Unfortunately, not everybody's going to read that obituary. But the key is, I think we said when we initially mentioned his passing that he was an activist. He had a life well lived, obviously. He saw a lot of the world. He did many things. And he was a credit to the city because he's not marching at the head of the parade for a photo op. He did a lot of things under the radar, as we said, and these are the kind of people that really matter, not the politicians that are always where the money is and where the cameras are. We did a lot of shows with Richard, and we had a lot of conversations with Richard. He was a tremendous individual. He had a strong code of ethics, and I think at the end of that, we heard how he helped the elderly and low income, which is really, really great. It says a lot about him. So he lived a rich and full life, and he will be he will. It's a loss to the city of Fall River that he's gone. It's just too bad. He was a great guy. We had some great conversations before, during, and after his show, and I guess that's it. It's just too. I guess his daughter wanted him buried near her, so he won't be buried in the Fall River area where he lived virtually his entire life. So, uh, he's in a better place now, and may he rest in peace. So, with that, I'm going to segue into the antithesis of Richard Urban, politicians. Somebody texted me pictures of I guess, a kind of a private lunch or dinner for the president of Portugal, who's down here for the feast, apparently. And I'm looking at these pictures, and I see all the players. And there's Paul Coogan. Of course, he's there with the well-to-do and the well-connected who get invited to the thing. And there's Linda Pereira, and there is Alan Sylvia. I don't see any poor people there, though. There's not a lot of poor people there. And as Richard was working for people, these guys, that's shameless, and I want to see Paul Coogan walk around Corky Row and ask the people who have been victimized by crime and have bullet holes in their houses how they're feeling today. But he won't, because he really doesn't care. And that's what really disturbs me. It's I look this is like a rogues gallery of the rich and the nauseous. But we all know that Paul, when Paul talks, he always reminds us about his banker friends, his lawyer friends, his developer friends, his rich friends. And there you have a tale of two people. A man who lived his life doing what he felt was the right thing to do, under the radar. Most people know Richard Urban only in one little aspect of his life, but he had a rich and full life, as a lot of people do. But politicians have no life. Their life is all about getting elected at any cost. And I think it's a stark contrast today as we reflect on Richard. And it only highlights why I despise politicians. So with that, CJ, I'll turn it back over to you, because you don't want to get me.
You muted yourself too soon. It was interesting because, like you said, Richie did everything under the radar. He ran for office a couple of times, and he, even though he lost, he never made it a big deal. He didn't raise a lot of money. He didn't do a lot that other people do, because he believed, and we had the conversation. He believed that politics shouldn't be about money. It should be about people, and only the people. And that's what he tried to run on, the people. And it obviously didn't work out too well for him, because he didn't get elected. But I think had he got elected, Fall River would have had a amazing representative on the city council. and I think that he would have done a great job. Just look at what he did for Diamond. So when you look at a man's life, I mean, he was 81 years old. I couldn't believe it when I read he was 81. I didn't imagine him being 81. I mean, I guess because I've known Richard for so long, um, you just don't think of people aging like that, especially because he was so active in the community. But again, we never know when our time's going to come up. So, I spoke with his daughter today at length. I told her that I couldn't find his obituary anywhere. She told me what funeral home it was, and I had been checking that funeral home regularly. And I actually had to do a search for it. I think they filed it based upon the day he died, which was August 11th, and that's why it wasn't popping up on the screen. But to transition, today is the 60th anniversary of the I've Got a Dream speech that was given in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., 60 years ago today by the Dr. Martin Luther King. He gave that speech, and that speech still resonates today amongst the people and amongst the community. And I'll tell you now, times haven't changed that much, and I'm sure that Dr. King is turning over in his grave because we haven't changed as much as he was hoping we would. And again, that's because people are people, and that's just the way it works out.
Well, I think that he would, obviously he would be not happy because I saw the Reverend Al Sharpton, who is a divider rather than a uniter, at that speech, and they had a thing. And one thing about Martin Luther King, he did not want to divide. He said he dreamed of a day where people would be judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. He wanted to be inclusive. And he sees a lot of the black community now dividing people. And it's a political tactic. And that's the unfortunate thing, that we've actually regressed. We haven't progressed. We've progressed because people don't want to admit the fact that there are bad people of every race, color, and creed, just like there are bad people in every occupation. But we have to unite the good people and unite the society. And this politics of division is why this country is in the condition it's in, at least in my opinion. And I think when you talked about Richard Urban running for office, I think there's a classic case that we should look at and think about. Richard Urban would have made a great city councilor. He was intelligent, well-traveled. His priorities are in the right place. He thought about the elderly, about the people of Fall River. He wasn't a politician. So I guess the moral of that story to me is, you voters, don't worry about the chow mein sandwiches or the whatever they give you, and don't elect people because you know them from the dog walking park, or you're in some club with them, or somebody knows somebody. Look into their background. Listen to their platforms. Vote for the individual based on the individual's content of character, to segue back to Dr. Martin Luther King. Judge people on the issues. You don't have to like them. You don't have to like the same baseball team. You don't have to like the same football teams. You're hiring them to run the city. Hire people who can do the job for you, to be your representative. You don't hire a plumber that can't fix your plumbing. You don't hire an electrician that can't fix your electrical wiring. But we constantly elect people based on name recognition and on marketing. Where are these people? Where are these people? Are they truly representative of the people? When's the last time Paul Coogan walked around a poor neighborhood and asked poor people what they think about the city of Fall River now? He completely dismisses it. Oh, don't worry, there's no bullet holes. Bullet hole in your house, who cares? You live in public housing, you don't get to speak. You don't own a house, shut up and go away. You don't like it, move out of Fall River. Don't make it better. The same thing with the council. Forget about the minutia. I don't care how many Girl Scout cookies they buy. What have they done for the people of Fall River? Not much. When you look at the crime rates, the educational performance, the crime in the streets, and then you wonder. They only do things for the connected. I drove up Eastern Avenue today. There's a 40-mile-an-hour sign on virtually every single post. There's new signs up there saying this is a densely populated area, drive slowly. I don't see those signs at Corky Row or, they're not on Plymouth Avenue. Why? Is it because a lot of affluent people live on Northeastern Avenue? I don't know. And there's even yard signs they created. 40 means 40. And virtually every house in there has a sign on it. Yet, does our mayor do anything about ATVs flying down Eastern Avenue at 80? They're knocking off a couple of cars now. A lot of enforcement on Eastern Avenue. I find it strange. I've lived in a Flint basically my entire adult life. I drive up Eastern Avenue every single day. Every single day. I don't see those signs at the bottom of Eastern Avenue. On the south of Pleasant Street. I don't see them there. That's a more densely populated area than north of Pleasant. But I don't see them there. Why? Is it because of the people who live there versus the people who live south of Pleasant Street in the three deckers that populate Eastern Avenue down to the Brayton Avenue extension? Seems to me that's something you should consider. And when you consider giving people your political vote, find out what they've done in the community. Find out what they've done for the elderly. Find out where their real character is. And give them a chance. Because I can tell you one thing. This, for the most part, with the exception of Michelle Dion, we've got a bunch of people that don't give a fiddler's crap about the average people in Fall River and giving out money to their little organizations and pretending to be magnanimous. That's not cutting it for the people of Fall River. People in Fall River, we've got major problems in this city, and they want to ignore it. Just keep letting their friends get rich and let them keep getting reelected. It's on you, people. It's on you.
Tell us how you feel. It's really interesting to see. It's been an interesting week last week with the number of deaths, and again, now we're talking about Richard, and we talked about Jerry Viveris last week, and I spoke with City Councilor Michelle Dion about the citizen during citizens input who said that the following city councils returned my phone call, blah 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 blah, and I'm so disappointed in the rest who did not return a phone call. Now, you and I both know that that's very unlike Michelle. But Michelle was going through a hard time. She was sitting with somebody who was dying. and life gets in the way sometimes. I'm sure that if they left a voicemail with a phone number, that Michelle will eventually return that phone call. Um, but again, life gets in the way, and it gets to be a little difficult for people to understand that, and we'll have to understand it, and make it happen for people to understand. But I don't want somebody like Michelle to be chastised because during her time of need and support that she didn't return a phone call, because that's unfair. That's just totally unfair.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, you're right. And ironically, that brings up another one of my pet peeves and my point. When we see these election cycles and we see these people, and granted they have lives and they're popping up. That's why I check their backgrounds. They may be working under the radar like Richard did. But the reality is they're calling about not returning phone calls. Those people don't return phone calls most of the time. But during an election season, they're doing that for election traction, maybe. You have to question their motive. Just like you have to question and do research on why somebody's running. Because listen, you and I complain all the time. They hate us because we're consistent. It's not just during an election year. It's 365 days a year we're out here voicing our opinion and telling people what we think is wrong and right about Fall River. What's right about Fall River are people like Richard Urban. What's wrong about Fall River are politicians who don't really care. That's why I say do your homework. I don't know what organizations these people are in, and we check. I listen to their platform. I don't care, but we have already, they're warring between these candidates. But most of these candidates, the only time you ever see them is every 2 years. How many of them, on a regular basis, give input to the council or comment publicly on what they think is wrong about Fall River? Who is complaining about the ATVs? We do on the show. Where are these people? Where are these people outraged about the crime? They show up once every 2 years, and granted, some of them may have a lot of jobs, but hey, look, reality is we do it, and I did it when I had a full-time job. Because if you're committed to the community, sometimes you got to go public, and Richard did. Richard wrote pieces in the newspaper. He did things, and this is the thing. This is the contrast. The Nancy Pelosi's and the Dianne Feinsteins are up there. They got one, as Larry Holmes, the former heavyweight champion in the world, once said when he was fighting an older Muhammad Ali. He said he's got 1 foot's on a banana peel and 1 foot's in the grave. These people are up there. They don't even know what planet they're on half the time. They don't know what they're voting on. It's all about money and power. You think they're really representing the people? They don't even know where they are. And this is the kind of government that we choose. Well, not me, because I don't vote for them. But the people go and continue to put these people in office. And maybe on a national level, we don't have a hell of a lot of input. But on a local level, we got a hell of a lot of power here. If you get out and vote, we've got a hell of a lot of power. And so let's do this on primary day, because we need a change. Because just as this country is at a crisis, the city is too. We can't allow a mayor to be in office who basically has done nothing. He ignores everything. Never saw a plan about anything. Never seen any proactive thing from him on anything that's important to the regular people of Fall River, and he dismisses them. Oh, high rents are going to be good in the long run. Why, Paul? Because they're going to get rid of the people that you don't like to look at? Why are high rents good? High rents are a problem throughout the country. Everybody else knows that, but not you. You think it's a good thing. So we got a guy that's, now they're covering up. It's still, nobody knows anything about that shooting. The kid gets shot in the face. They just squelched that. No details at all. Now there's all kinds of buzz about that thing. CJ, I don't know about you, but now, was it in the, did he get shot in the apartment? Did he get shot outside the apartment? Did the guy shoot through the window? Well, the 17-year-old had a illegal handgun and he shot somebody. That's unacceptable. That is a news item. And that is something that people of Fall River should be at least in the loop about what they're doing about this, finding out how this happened, why this happened, and why a 17-year-old not only had an illegal handgun, but he pointed it at somebody and shot him in the face. Was it an accident? Or were they arguing over a drug deal? Or were they arguing over a girl? Nobody knows. But it's important to people to know, because it might have been something that was precipitated by something unique, but it's a crime. You can say what you want, but it's a crime, and Quinn's prosecuting it as a crime. But you notice, no, it's nothing. It's like forget it. Remember the Terry Sullivan rule: keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, don't talk about it, and it'll go away. It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Well, I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We will be on the air at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, not the usual 10 a.m. Chip is going to be in Boston. So remember, on Wednesday, 5 o'clock instead of 10 a.m. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Wednesday.